I will not take any longer. I would like to give the floor now to my colleague Uri Dadush. Uri Dadush will be addressing unemployment and in this region of the world.
I speak in English. I use my computer all the time, so it's easier for me to stand up. The really big worry is jobs, and according to statistics, the MENA region has an unemployment rate close to 12%, which is the highest in the world, according to the ILO. And the unemployment rate of young people is close to 30%, which is 2 to 3 times higher than it is in the other developing regions. So that's why I'm concentrating on jobs. Diversification and education are, of course, important, but in the final analysis, they're instruments of the growth process. And jobs, as the chairman just told us, equal growth. Very difficult to separate the two. So I'm going to make a prediction, and which is the heart of my message, which is that unfortunately I don't see a change, big change in the unemployment problems in the MENA region going forward. And to make this prediction, I look at some of the key drivers. Before I do that, a couple of caveats. One is there's huge problems in measuring unemployment and employment in Morocco, in the MENA region, as there is in all other developing countries. And that's essentially because the line between employment and unemployment is very blurred when you have large numbers of people in agriculture, large numbers of people in the informal sector, participation of women, which is just around 20% of the working age, of the female working age population. So it's very difficult to distinguish between actual unemployment and the fact that some people who really would like to work or get a more formal job cannot do so. The second caveat, of course, is that the MENA region is a very diverse one. So you are in a place where something like, 80% of the workers are actually imported, okay? So by definition, you have no cyclical unemployment in Qatar, in the Gulf countries on the one hand, which are some of the richest in the world. And on the other hand, you have countries like Egypt, Morocco, and Tunisia, which can only balance their labor market by exporting something like 10 to 15% of their of the labor force is outside the country. So with those caveats, let me just list 5 stylized facts about jobs in the MENA region. The first is, which has already been mentioned, I won't elaborate, is we have had big investment in education, but the children are not learning, and the achievement on standardized tests of the kids in the region are very low relative to per capita incomes. And the kids in the Gulf countries score hugely below countries in the same income brackets, an extreme case. There's a large amount of tertiary educated unemployed, which again is a very particular feature of the region. The second stylized fact is we've had an absence of diversification of these economies. Masoud is going to talk about that, so I'm not going to elaborate. Next speaker, Masoud Ahmed. The third stylized fact is that 2/3 of MENA's workers are employed in the informal sector. And in the formal sector, the 1/3, over half of the jobs are government jobs, okay? So you have a classic dual labor market situation where in the formal part of the market, workers are protected, earn high wages, etc., but it's very difficult to get in. And of course, that is a cause of frustration as well as a cause of unemployment. The fourth stylized fact is that despite all these handicaps, the MENA region actually grew quite handsomely prior to the Arab Spring. So from 2000 to 2012, the MENA region achieved a growth rate of 5.3%, which is actually a very high growth rate. It's not Asian growth rate. Since then, we have halved that growth rate, also with the fall in oil prices. During the period prior to the Arab Spring, paradoxically, we had a big increase in employment. Employment expanded at a pace well in excess of 3% a year, which is gigantic. And even in recent years, 2013, 2015, employment grew at a rate of 2.5% a year, okay? But quite a bit of the recent employment was in government sector, which traditionally accounts for over half of the formal jobs. And a lot of the employment that was created is in relatively low value-added service activities. The fifth stylized fact, and this is my last fact before I project, so to speak, is that we have another exceptional fact about this region: very fast growth of the population historically, and very fast growth of the young population. This is a young region. The 15 to 24 cohort in MENA, this is when people enter the labor market, has grown at around 2.4% a year over the last 30 years. These are very high growth rates, and they help explain the unemployment problem among the youth. However, and this is good news, another important fact is that we appear to have reached the peak of the young people coming into the labor force. It's declining, and indeed, the labor force, which has been growing very rapidly over the last 10, 20 years, is now slowing very sharply together with the rate of growth of population, very sharply indeed. So right there, you can begin to see one day the solution to the unemployment problem in MENA, one day. If you analyze it comparatively, the big issue in MENA is not so much job creation. Yeah, there's been a lot of job creation.
Uri, 2 minutes.
2 minutes. There's been a lot of job creation. The main problem is the demographic bulge. Let me conclude with my prediction, and that is that if you look over the next several years, the demographics is going to be favorable for resolving the unemployment problem, in the sense that, not that it's good, but it's not going to be as bad as it has been in the past. However, two other factors will militate against a rapid reduction in the problem. Number one, and you already know it, is the fact that the growth rate of the MENA region, with low oil prices and the conflicts in the region and the problems that we have in world trade, is very unlikely to go back to grow as rapidly as it did pre-Arab Spring days. And the second factor is that, as I said from the beginning, there is a very large reservoir of workers that want to enter into the formal market or want actually any kind of job. And these are the underemployed women of the region, the people in subsistence or low value-added agriculture, and the people that are in the informal sector, in the informal urban sector, will be lining up to get these jobs. And eliminating, so to speak, the reservoir of unused labor is going to take a long time, maybe 10 years or longer. Thank you.
Merci. Merci. Thank you.